Well, it looks like the Alberta separatists have finally found me. They've been calling me at my home for the last couple of nights, and I pick up the phone and they don't introduce themselves, they don't say hi, they just immediately launch into a tirade, about calling me a liar and telling me that I was peddling lies. And the calls don't last long, frankly. I tend to respond appropriately in kind, and then hang up, so they don't last long. And here's the thing, if you call and say, hey Markham, this is so-and-so, and I wanted to talk to you about the video or the column or the news story or whatever it happens to be, and here's my problem with it, and I don't, have you considered this, or the evidence says that. I'd love to have those kind of calls. Love to have those kind of calls. Feel free, send me an email. I don't have a problem with it. But when you call and you're rude, not so much. And this seems to be a characteristic of that whole, the freedom crowd. First it was the convoy, and then it was anti-vax, and then it was axe the tax, and there have been a whole bunch. Now it is separatism. And they seem to be picking on me. Well, that's great. I don't mind. Bring it on. Big boy, I can handle myself. But that is my lead up to this document that I ran across. It was released a day or two ago. And I'll read the title to you. The Value of Freedom, a draft, fully costed, fiscal plan for an independent Alberta. And it was released by the Alberta Prosperity Project. And it's open for public discussion. Well, isn't that great? I would really like to discuss it, actually, because I have some things to say about it. Now, there's a lot in here that is, it's not my remit. It's not my beat. I don't do policing, and I don't do, finances or, taxation. It's not my thing. Energy is my thing. So imagine my consternation when I discovered that these guys are projecting, and mind you, it is their aggressive case, but it seems to be their expectation that an independent Alberta would triple its oil production. And they can't even get that right, because they say that the production is like 3.2 or 3.3 million barrels a day, when last year was 4. The oil sands is 3.2, 3.3. And then you throw conventional on top of that, and you get 4. How you get to 9.5? And I thought, okay, well, they're using OPEC modeling, right? I've discussed this in other videos, but basically OPEC says between 2024, when there was 103 million barrels a day of consumption, to 2050, there will be an increase of 17 million barrels per day of consumption. So that gets you up to from 103 to 120. And I thought, oh, well, these guys must be using the OPEC numbers, or maybe it's ExxonMobil or whatever, some of that modeling, optimistic modeling. No, they actually they cite the International Energy Agency's modeling, and granted they're using the conservative steps scenario, but nevertheless, the IEA, they acknowledge that there's an energy transition, but they still think in 2050 there's going to be 100 million barrels a day of oil demand. But here's the thing. The only place where Alberta can increase its oil production in any significant way is the oil sands. And the oil sands produces ultra-heavy sour crude. And so it's the heavy crude market. How big is the global heavy crude market? Well, it's 10 million barrels a day. And 5.5 million barrels a day of those are in the United States. And the rest is mostly in Asia, and then there's 700,000 or 1 million barrels a day in Europe. And so what they're arguing is that in 2050, in a 10 million barrel a day market, Alberta is going to produce 9.5 million barrels a day. Now, the Saudis and the Iraqis and the Brazilians and the Mexicans and the Venezuelans, there's all kinds of other countries that produce heavy crude. I think they're going to have to say about that. Because the one thing, even today with the Trans-Mountain expansion, it costs $18 to get a barrel of heavy crude to China or India. It costs the Saudis and the Iraqis $2. And the Saudis can pretty much, dig their toe into the sand and produce a barrel of oil. I mean, their production costs are nothing, probably around between $5 and $10. So how, the logic here is that somehow Alberta is going to cut its regulation, force, Canada, the provinces now, remember, Alberta's a country, so it's going to force British Columbia somehow to build a pipeline to the west coast. And the combination of a pipeline and little or no regulation is going to end up tripling the oil production. I mean, the numbers make absolutely no sense. And this kind of math, this kind of illogic, is rife throughout the document. So what are we to make of this? What are we to make of this? I mean, these are people who want to take Alberta and make it into a separate country and run that country, and they can't even produce a literate document. But what it does do, it's consistent with the people who are calling me up and calling me names. It has that same tone to it, angry and entitled, and frankly, if I'm being honest, not all that smart. So probably this is my opportunity to pitch my interview today with Senator Paula Simons. Did a great interview on Alberta separatism. You've got to go watch it. Go to our YouTube channel, and it's the 2 or 3 videos down, and have a watch, because she is so articulate and her arguments are so good. And so watch that. We're going to be doing more and more and more videos about Alberta separatism, not just because it's a dumb idea, and it really is a dumb idea, but so was anti-vaccines, so was the Freedom Convoy, so was Axe the Tax, honestly. So it's not about facts, it's about narrative. And the only way to counter hateful and negative narrative is a hopeful, optimistic narrative. So that means 2 things. One, you've got to counter the hateful and negative narrative, about Alberta separatism, and then tell the truth and explain why Alberta could have a much better future as part of Canada. And it doesn't mean just 1 million barrels of oil and a whole bunch more, more of the same, but just the different customers in Asia and Europe. There's a whole opportunity here to turn bitumen into materials and to invest into value-added industries and into hydrogen. There's a bunch of them. And we'll go into that in greater detail, over the course of the next, 6 to 12 months. We'll try to lay it out as best we can. In the meantime, go find yourself The Value of Freedom. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll be able to find it. It's about 45, 50 pages. And have yourself a good giggle. But these are the people running the separatist movement in Alberta. It ain't impressive, folks.